guys, welcome to the Meta Meltdown, a short weekly podcast about the current meta in Hearthstone. And each week we'll focus on a specific deck and provide insight on how to pilot it and in order to succeed on the ladder. This is episode 1, and I'm your host, Dominic Silver Dragon Nguyen. I have here Nate Diggity Walter. Hi, Nate.
Hey guys, how's it going? Glad to be here.
Great. So let's just talk a little bit about us real quick. I'm an almost legend, rank 1, 5 stars, the dream is dead, player in Hearthstone. I'm also a TESPA event coordinator at the University of California, Riverside. I admin a ton of Hearthstone events in the SoCal area. And fun fact about me, my first Old Gods Legendary was the Boogie Monster, and the second was Nat Pagel, the Darkfisher. So yeah, totally good at opening those packs.
Pretty epic cards.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
My name is Nate. Some fun facts about me in Hearthstone, I guess. 6-time legend player, amateur Hearthstone caster, as is Dominic. That's actually how we met each other through a TESPA event. And I have 8 out of 9 golden heroes, so I like to play Hearthstone every now and then.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. And what's the 9th hero that you're looking to golden out?
I still have Rogue yet to go, only 430 more wins. Hashtag never gonna happen.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know, what happened was with Shaman, and this is actually pretty funny because we're actually going to talk about Midrange Shaman today. Shaman wasn't doing so well in the last couple patches, right? And then Old Gods came out, and now Shaman's back on top. So maybe with the next expansion, you'll get to golden out that Rogue of yours.
Maybe. We'll see, though.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Well, yeah. We'll see. Blizzard likes to bring up their decks. But yeah, let's just talk about any personal Hearthstone news. What are the decks you've played recently, and any out-of-game Hearthstone activities that you've done?
Sure. So basically, since Old Gods came out, I've been playing a lot of priest, control priest like N'Zoth, and I've also been experimenting with just some like anti-Zoo decks because it works really well on the ladder right now. Also been playing some control warrior, and then obviously a lot of shaman because it's just so dominant right now.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And then besides the decks, I've also been playing in some fireside gatherings, so I've been doing pretty well in those. Since Old Gods came out, I took top 8 in one and then top 4 in another. So, how about you?
So I've mainly been playing the mid-range shaman deck that we're going to talk about today, and I've just gotten like my quest done. So I've had some priest quests, which I took control priest out in, and then I felt like I was losing a lot with priest, so I took out the old Zoo deck and beat some faces in, and that was pretty good.
Nice.
I've also been to Zotcade, which was a UCI event. I played and helped admin over there, and I was over at BeachCon helping admin the Hearthstone tournament over there as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Let's talk about, if we're going to talk about a deck, we have to talk about the meta, of course. So what do you think are the top 4 or 5 decks in the meta currently, Nate?
Well, I'll just go by the Temple Storm list here, and then we'll kind of just discuss how we feel about their ranking. So they have in their tier 1, Aggro Shaman, Zulak, Miracle Rogue, N'Zoth Paladin. So those are the top 4. I think I mostly agree. I'm a little bit shocked that mid-range Shaman isn't up there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the list so far?
Yeah, I think the same actually. I haven't played or seen the Miracle Rogue, so I'm not sure how good that is. But I definitely agree with the rest of them. I really, really like N'Zoth Paladin. It's super fun to play. I played it inside the tournament. It did really well. It's really slow though, so a deck like Aggro Shaman, Zulak, mid-range Shaman, if you just draw the right cards, you play on curve. N'Zoth Paladin doesn't have a lot of time to get out there. But yeah, I agree. I think these 4 or 5 decks are going to be really solid and an indication of tournament matches and ladder matches in the coming at least month or so.
Yeah, I feel it's a pretty good list as well. So.
Yeah, so actually on my right side over here, or yeah, on your right side, I've got the mid-range Shaman deck that we've pulled up. Let me give you a little background on it. So it was created by Loyan, and he is formerly the number one legend player on EU, and actually Sixo is running this deck too, and he got number one in EU with it. So I think they're playing each other a lot with this deck. It's a little bit different. It's got Argent Squires, Flame Tongue Totems, and those aren't really what you see in the usual like mid range decks, but this has kind of become like the norm now. And we have one ofs like Lightning Storm, Manatide Totem, Cult Master, Defender of Argus, Doomhammer, and Bloodlust. Yeah, I feel like it makes the deck a little bit less consistent, but it actually works out really well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a great deck. And just to add to your point about Loyan and Zixo, they actually finished 1 and 2 respectively on the EU server. So
Mm.
this deck is pretty insane. I'll just give all the viewers who are listening to the audio only a quick rundown of the deck list here. So we have double Rock Biter weapon, double Tunnel Trog, double Flame Tongue Totem, double Totem Golem, double Feral Spirit, double Hex, 1 Lightning Storm, 1 Manatide Totem, 2 Tuskar Totemics, 2 Flame Wreath Faceless, 1 Doomhammer, 1 Bloodlust, 2 Thing from Below, 2 Argent Squire, 2 Flame Jugglers, 1 Cult Master, 1 Defender of Argus, and 2 Azure Drakes.
Yeah, so it's a deck that curves out really well. Uh, you can see that if you're watching it on YouTube. But it's got like 6/1 drops, 6/2 drops, 8/3 drops, 4/4 drops, 4/5 drops, and 2/6 drops. So you don't really plan on entering the late game with this deck, and you almost never need to. You either win or lose by like turn 7 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, if you get some early board control, you have some excellent finishers in Doomhammer and Bloodlust, so you can definitely just hit face, what Shaman does best.
Yeah, definitely.
Any
So,
cards you find particularly interesting in here, Dominic?
yeah, I actually really like the Flame Tongue Totem. I think that it's a really interesting add to Shaman decks. I was actually playing and casting the deck, or actually where we met, where we were casting the Shaman decks over at Collegiate Coliseum, and I noticed that Flame Tongue Totem is actually like a huge MVP card. It makes a lot of it brings a lot of damage to the board where the opponent doesn't really realize it's gonna come from, and it really synergizes really well with the Cult Master. I think just because it's really bad by itself, a lot of people kind of neglected it in the past, and now that we have a lot of other cheap minions like Argent Squire, Tunnel Trog, even Flame Juggler out on turn 1 or 2. It's actually helped really set the tempo for the deck, and it's one of my favorite cards to look for in the mulligan in order to make sure that I get ahead in any matchup. What about you?
Some interesting ones here that you typically don't see in Shaman is Cult Master, like you mentioned. It's definitely great with card draw and synergize as well. If you can lay down the Flame Tongue and kill off some of your totems and get some card draw for free. So that's a great one. And then Defender of Argus. Now, when he hit #1 Legend on EU with this deck, he was running Defender of Argus. I think since then he's taken it out for Master of Evolution. So I know he's still experimenting with this, obviously, as the meta is still shaping.
Yeah.
So those two are definitely the weirdest ones for me to see. But everything else in here looks pretty good. You do see a lot of these in the other cards in the current Shaman list. So.
Definitely. So now that we've talked about what's in the deck, what are the mulligans that you're looking for when you're playing against like an aggro deck?
So if I'm pretty sure I'm gonna play against an aggro, anything like Rockbiter would be good. So you can just kill off whatever they play, and then Tunnel Trog obviously can be an MVP in this deck. Totem Golem, Argent Squire, Flame Juggler. I'd say those are your best ones. If you anticipate that you're playing like a zoo, possibly, you can keep your Lightning Storm just so you can get some early board clear. How about you? What do you think we would want to keep for more of a slower deck?
Yeah, so for slower decks, I definitely don't want like the rock battle weapons. I feel like just getting out the Tunnel Trog into Totem Golem or the Argent Squire into Flame Tongue Totem is really strong. Most of the times, if you're looking at like slower decks, you're either gonna have like they're still gonna have early game minions, and usually they have around 3 health or 2 health. So getting out an Argent Squire and a Flame Tongue Totem is like really key, or having a Flame Juggler. Um, Actually, Flame Juggler is more for aggro decks like hunters with 1 health minions. So just starting to do damage with the Flame Tongue Totem is something that I definitely look for. You don't want to overload too much if you know you want to play on curve, and that's like pretty much it. You're not looking for the lightning storms in the early game if you're playing against a slower deck. So anything that you know that is really sticky, like Argent Squires, um, is what you're going to be looking for in the slower decks, because eventually they'll have the removal for your creatures, and you want them to at least try to use up two or three cards to get rid of your one. So yeah, let's talk about any changes to the deck that we would have done. Like for instance, I really like Argent Squire. Like it's one of my favorite cards, but I feel like um, if you don't draw the Cult Master and have a bunch of minions on the board, if you're not already winning, you need card draw or something. So I'd maybe change out an Argent Squire for a Sir Finley, and hopefully get the Warlock hero power just for some more card draw if you need that.
Yeah, Sir Finley is definitely a pretty good card. I think typically that's used for more aggro style, but with Shaman, you can't really tell these days
Hmm.
if people are trying to go face or just play more of a mid range. So there's so many variations of Shaman, but definitely a good card, I think. I would also add like a second Lightning Storm just with the amount of Zoo and how popular it's become on ladder,
Yeah,
and
I
also
agree.
mirror matchups. So having that second Lightning Storm, or just not being able to draw your one Lightning Storm, can kind of ruin you. So just having like a double insurance policy would be good.
Yeah, I agree. I think Double Lightning Storm is definitely those are the top two changes I would think I would make. I'm adding Sir Finley and adding a second Lightning Storm, maybe taking out one Argent Squire for the Sir Finley, and I don't know what would you take out for the second Lightning Storm.
Um, it's really tough.
Yeah, because the deck list is actually really tight. It's actually really balanced. I feel like.
Yeah, I like the double hex. Again, you're going to see a lot of Shaman, so you're probably going to see Flame Wreath Faceless.
Hmm.
So that's pretty much why Hex is in there, and also the slower meta as well. Possibly Flame Jugglers. I mean, they are good for this deck, but if you're going to alter it a little bit, I might take out a Flame Juggler and
Yeah.
um, add something else, possibly a little bit slower, such as like a Master of Evolution. That's a pretty good Shaman card.
Hmm.
Otherwise, Eternal Sentinel works as well, where you can unlock your mana crystals after you play your wolves or your uh, Flame Wreath Faceless.
Yeah. I feel like in contrast, the mid-range Shaman doesn't have as much like it doesn't have as much overload as the aggro shaman, but definitely I feel like if you're running into a lot more of a problem with your overload, I would definitely put Eternal Sentinel in. I think it totally works in any like shaman deck, especially because you're running the more tempo heavy cards like Flame Wreath.
Yeah, definitely. So how did you do with this deck this week?
Oh yeah, so I mean I did really well. I went I had a huge win streak. I played it from like 20 to 10. Um, and I haven't been able to play very much past that. But it's doing really well. Every time I've played it, I've done super well. I think that the only things that you have to consider, like the only times that I've lost are when I tried to play too controlly. This deck is definitely not that. It's definitely more mid range, and you want to get out like your early game drops like Argent Squire, and then go into like Totem Golems, Flame Tongues, protect those things with Feral Spirits, and as soon as you protect your minions, you really want to go for face because you really want to leave your opponents to try to deal with them, and even if they deal with it in a more efficient way than you would have liked, um, you're still doing damage, and you can still hit. You can always draw the Doomhammer and the Rock Battle Weapon hit for 20 or hit for 10, and hit them down that way. I also think a really good card you're looking for is Bloodlust. If you have a lot of minions on the board, Bloodlust has won me a ton of matches, um, just because they don't expect it, and it's only one of in this deck. So whenever you draw it, you typically draw it later in the game.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a lot of good luck with this deck as well. I actually had like a 40 game sample size that I use Tracklebot to track my games.
Hmm.
And I went with this particular Shaman deck 28 and 12.
It's still
Was,
good, yeah.
yeah, it's 70% win rate exactly. And my best matchups were against Priest, Druid, and Paladin. I was undefeated against those three. 7-1 against Shaman, 5-1 against Lock, 3-1 against Rogue. And then the two classes that I struggled against for Warrior, I went 2 and 4.
And that makes sense.
Probably, I think they're Control Warriors, which is definitely one of the harder matchups in my opinion, just because of Brawl and Execute and all their cheap removal cards. And then Mage for some reason. I'm not really sure what mages I was facing. I think it might have been like a Tempo Mage,
Uh-huh.
but I went 1 and 4 against them. So those were my two hardest matchups, Mage and Warrior.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, every deck's got to have its weak points and its strong suits, and I haven't really seen a lot of mage or warrior, so maybe you just got unlucky. People were testing some stuff out. Uh, Definitely feel like the meta is more tuned to aggro, like the top four decks that we talked about earlier. So this deck does really well against those, and yeah, is that about it?
Yeah, I think that'll do it for this week's deck review. If you guys want to see a specific archetype or deck reviewed, definitely let us know. Dominic, where can people find us?
You can find us on Twitter at the Meta Meltdown. You can find us on YouTube at Silver Dragon. You can find us on our website metameltdown.com. And if you have any questions, concerns, tips, decks you want us to review, like Nate said, our email is metameltdownpodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, tune in next week, guys. We'll pick out another deck that we'll play. We'll see exactly how well we do on the ladder, and we'll give you our feedback. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll be back next Wednesday.
Thanks, guys.